Welcome to Psych Insight, your go-to platform for exploring the fascinating world of psychology as it applies to our everyday lives. We delve into the human psyche, exploring the hidden dynamics that shape our interactions, relationships, and even our power dynamics. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into the intriguing philosophy of Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, specifically focusing on Law 46, which states, "Never appear too perfect." Sounds intriguing, doesn't it? If you're ready to challenge your perceptions and unravel some of the mysteries of human behavior, then stick with us. And if you find our content enlightening, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep creating content that helps you understand yourself and others better. So, without further ado, let's dive in. But before that, let's explore the concept of a perfect illusion in our next segment. Stay tuned. Imagine a world where everyone is perfect. Sounds ideal, right? But would it really be? In a society where perfection is often idolized, the concept of being flawless can seem tantalizingly attractive. Yet, the pursuit of perfection is not only unrealistic but can also be counterproductive. Let's delve into an intriguing philosophy that challenges this notion of perfection. Welcome to the world of Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, specifically Law 46, which states, "Never appear too perfect." This law, steeped in psychological insights, encourages us to embrace our imperfections as a strategic tool in social dynamics and power play. So why would anyone advocate for appearing less than perfect? Turns out, our brains are wired in a way that perfection can sometimes trigger negative responses. Humans, by nature, are comparative beings. When we encounter someone who seems flawless, it can stir feelings of envy and resentment, leading us to scrutinize and magnify their smallest mistakes. On the flip side, showing our vulnerabilities can make us more relatable and trustworthy. It's a paradox, but acknowledging our mistakes and imperfections can make us more human, approachable, and even likable. This authenticity can foster stronger connections, which are crucial for building influence and power. And then there's the perceptual contrast. In psychology, this principle tells us that our perceptions are relative to a baseline. If you're always seen as perfect, any small slip-up can seem like a massive blunder. Conversely, if you're known for your imperfections, your achievements might be viewed in a more positive light, as they contrast with your usual shortcomings. There's also the pratfall effect, a psychological phenomenon where competent individuals become more appealing after making a mistake, further highlighting the strategic advantage of balancing competence with vulnerability. However, this law isn't just about accepting our flaws. It's a guide to strategically control how perfect or imperfect we appear to others, allowing us to shape their perceptions and reactions. Yet, as with any strategy, it's a double-edged sword. If the manipulation is discovered, it can lead to distrust. So the question isn't whether we should strive for perfection or not, but how we can leverage our imperfections to navigate the complex social landscape. Perfection, it seems, is not only unachievable, but can also be detrimental to our relationships and personal power. Humans have a natural tendency to compare themselves to others. It's a fundamental aspect of our psychology. When we notice someone who appears flawless, it can kindle feelings of envy and resentment within us. We all strive for perfection, and when we see it in others, it can make us feel inadequate, highlighting our own shortcomings. This can lead to negative consequences. It may drive people to search for or even fabricate flaws in this seemingly perfect individual. This is a defense mechanism, a way to bring them down to our level and soothe our bruised ego. It's a way of coping with the uncomfortable feelings of envy and resentment. So, presenting ourselves as less than perfect can be a strategic way to avoid attracting jealousy. By showing our flaws and vulnerabilities, we can actually protect ourselves from the negative effects of others' envy and resentment. We become more human, more relatable, and less of a target for negative feelings. Trust and relatability, two essential elements in our relationships, are often linked to our perceived imperfections. You see, when someone admits to their mistakes or reveals their vulnerabilities, it does something remarkable. It humanizes them. It strips away the masks we often wear, allowing us to connect on a more authentic level. This honesty, this openness, it makes people more approachable, more likable. It breaks down barriers and fosters a sense of camaraderie. It's a gentle reminder that we're all in this together, navigating the complex seas of life, making mistakes, learning, growing. And in this space of shared imperfection, trust is born. Trust, not born out of perfection, but out of shared humanity. Trust that says, I see your flaws, your mistakes, and I still choose to believe in you. By showing we're human, just like everyone else, we can foster stronger and more authentic connections. Our perceptions are relative, and a small mistake can be magnified if it contrasts with an image of perfection. This statement brings us to the fascinating concept of perceptual contrast. In psychology, this principle explains how our perceptions aren't absolute, but are rather influenced by a baseline or context. Imagine someone who always appears perfect. In such a case, even a minor blunder can seem significant, casting a shadow over their usually flawless image. However, someone who openly admits their imperfections may find their successes celebrated more, as these achievements stand out against their usual shortcomings. Now let's introduce the pratfall effect, a psychological phenomenon that provides a unique twist to our understanding of perfection and imperfection. The pratfall effect posits that competent individuals become more likable after making a mistake, but only if they were perceived as competent before the error. It's like watching a skilled tightrope walker stumble slightly but recover gracefully. Rather than diminishing their appeal, the stumble humanizes them, making their skill even more admirable. So how do these concepts tie into our perception of perfection and imperfection? Well, they suggest that our reactions to others aren't just based on their actions, but also on our perceptions of them. If we see someone as perfect, their mistakes can seem larger than life. On the other hand, if we see them as human and fallible, their successes can shine brighter, and their mistakes can make them more appealing. However, it's crucial to note that the pratfall effect only works when the individual is seen as competent to begin with. A series of mistakes from an individual already perceived as incompetent may only reinforce the negative image. The interplay between perceptual contrast and the pratfall effect highlights the importance of balancing competence with vulnerability. When we show that we're not only skilled but also human and capable of errors, we can become more relatable and likable. Balancing competence with vulnerability can make us more likable and appealing. Now let's delve into a more controversial aspect of this law: manipulation of perception. Manipulation of perception, in its essence, involves controlling or influencing a person or situation to one's advantage, often covertly. This can range from simple persuasion tactics to more complex psychological maneuvers. Law 46 of Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power introduces the concept of manipulating appearances, specifically the appearance of perfection. When an individual strategically controls how perfect or imperfect they appear, they essentially manipulate how others perceive them and react to them. This is akin to a puppet master pulling strings from behind the scenes. Through calculated displays of imperfection, individuals can steer others' perceptions, emotions, and ultimately actions. For instance, consider a leader who skillfully reveals his shortcomings. By doing so, he might be seen as more relatable and human, thus fostering trust and loyalty among his followers. Or think of an individual in a competitive setting who downplays her achievements to avoid triggering envy. She can maintain a low profile while still advancing her interests. However, it's important to remember that manipulation of perception is a delicate art. It requires finesse, understanding, and above all, subtlety. Overuse or misuse of such tactics can lead to suspicion and distrust. If the manipulation is discovered, it can backfire. It is not universally accepted or appreciated. Some view it as a necessary tool for navigating complex social landscapes, while others see it as a morally questionable act of deceit. Therefore, it's crucial to use this strategy judiciously, taking into account the potential consequences and ethical considerations. Furthermore, while the strategic use of imperfection can be a powerful tool for manipulation, it should not be used as a mask for genuine flaws or shortcomings. The goal is not to deceive others into believing you are flawed when you are not, but rather to embrace and showcase your real imperfections in a way that benefits you and strengthens your relationships. Manipulation of perfection is a double-edged sword. It can be a powerful tool when used wisely, but it also has the potential to harm if mishandled. Just as we must be careful not to appear too perfect, we must also be mindful of how we manipulate our imperfections. So, how can we apply this law in real-life situations? Well, let's look at leadership, for instance. Leaders who share personal stories of failure or lessons learned from mistakes establish a level of relatability that strengthens their team's loyalty. They are perceived as more human, approachable, and trustworthy. It's a strategic move to show that they too have walked the path of growth and learning. And in competitive environments, this law becomes even more beneficial. Ever noticed how some people downplay their achievements? It's not always out of modesty. Sometimes it's a calculated move to avoid triggering envy among peers. They're essentially managing perceptions, maintaining their likability while subtly asserting their competence. Here's the key takeaway: strategically revealing our imperfections rather than maintaining a facade of perfection helps us navigate complex social landscapes. By doing so, we can avoid envy, foster genuine connections, and ultimately increase our influence and power. It's about striking a balance, and that's the essence of Law 46. In the end, it's clear that never appearing too perfect has its advantages. This intriguing law sheds light on the intricate dance of social dynamics and power. By understanding the human tendency towards envy and resentment, we can strategically reveal our imperfections to avoid becoming the target of these negative emotions. Moreover, in embracing our fallibility, we foster relatability and trust, essential components for building strong connections in leadership. The contrast principle and the pratfall effect remind us that our perceived imperfections can enhance our achievements and likability, respectively. And while manipulation through appearances can be a powerful tool, it's a double-edged sword that demands careful handling. Applying Law 46 in power dynamics, like leadership or competitive environments, involves a keen understanding of when and how to show our imperfections. Remember, it's our competence that is needed for the job, but imperfections make us human and relatable, ultimately increasing our influence.